Good afternoon and welcome to today's lunch break with the Rabbi. Today we begin a new week. I know today is Tuesday, but we start a new week of Parshas Shalach. Today is Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. It is also the 21st day of the month of Sivan. I remind you that tonight we have our JLI class, a fascinating and interesting class learning about what happens and how does it evolve with the coming of Moshiach. That's going to be tonight at 7:30. Join us in person or on Zoom. That's tonight at 7:30 p.m. Again, I also remind you, please feel free to submit your questions, comments, or suggestions of what you would like these lunch break with the rabbis to discuss. This week's Torah reading begins with the famous or infamous episode of the Jewish people sending scouts to the land of Israel, and they come back with some terrible news. And because of that, the Jewish people end up wandering in the desert for 40 years. So let's take the story apart piece by piece and let's see what went wrong, where it went wrong, and what was wrong. So let's start off with the first two words of this week's Torah reading. This week's Torah reading, God tells Moses two words, Shlach lecha, send for yourself. What does it mean for yourself? Well, many times we find in the Torah reading where God tells Moses or Aaron, take for yourself, go for yourself, where it means for something of their pleasure, something that they will enjoy for that moment, utilize for that time. But over here, God is telling Moses about sending scouts to the land of Israel. Why were they sending scouts to the land of Israel? Well, God promised the Jewish people to go into the land of Israel. He promised them it's a land of milk and honey, a land where you will enjoy its sustenance, you will enjoy its produce. It's a place, a gift to the Jewish people, an inheritance for all generations. Why should they need to send scouts? So Moses believed that the way to entice the Jewish people to go into the land of Israel is if we send scouts, spies, to be able to check the land out, survey the situation, and see which way to physically conquer the land of Israel. On a deeper level, we know there's a concept that we don't rely on miracles. Though God was making a miraculous event for the Jewish people to go into the land of Israel, for them to conquer the land of Israel, for the land of Israel to beat the Jewish peoples for future generations, which that in itself was a miraculous event, deterring the enemies that were there. But also Moshe was looking to enclose it in a natural way. And that was by sending scouts. They should see the land, as he directs them in this week's Torah reading, see if there's walls around the city. Are they strong? Are they weak? What way we can conquer, where are their weaknesses, where are the strengths, and how we should be able to overcome it. So we can enclose the entire episode in a natural means. But of course, we know that it is God's strength that is going to be able to get us and overcome these seven great powerful nations for the Jewish people to eventually settle in the land of Israel. But what happened? As we know what turned out, the Jewish people that went, the scouts that were sent, came back with horrifying ideas. They said, yes, the land of Israel flows of milk and honey, but these are its fruit, and show these a gigantic fruit that were there. Needed 8 people to carry a vine of grapes, telling them giants are there, people are dying. We don't want to go to this land. This is not a place for us to conquer. They are too mighty for us. What did God tell Moses? Shlach lecha, you send the scouts. That if you believe that we need to enclose it in nature, it needs to come from you. It needs to be based on your intellect, based on your understanding. Let the scouts be something that God commanded, not that God commanded, but that you, the people, understood and appreciated, that we ourselves want to internalize it, that it becomes part of us. So what went wrong? If that was their job, if that was the reason why the scouts were sent, to bring it into a level of nature, to see if they can conquer the land of Israel, what went wrong? What did they do wrong? Didn't they follow their mission? Wasn't that the purpose that they were sent? Why were they scolded? Why were the Jewish people punished to wander in the desert for 40 years because of what they've done? Seemingly, they followed protocol. They were sent to scout the land of Israel. They came back with a report. Because you didn't like the report, therefore they get punished. And here's the mistake. When the scouts came back, they didn't just tell us about the land of Israel. They didn't just tell us about the prospects, about if they're weak, they're strong. While they said that as well, they came to a conclusion. They said because they're strong, because this is their fruits, because of the evidence that we present here today, We will not be able to overcome them. In fact, they said God will not be able to overcome them, they alluded to. That was their mistake. Their mistake was not that they didn't come, not about the report, but to decide to make a judgment about the report. They were sent to the land of Israel to determine and to see how we can conquer it, not if we can conquer it. And they came back saying, if we can conquer it, not about how. They decided to make their judgment not only to say what they saw, but also come to a report and therefore say what they could or can't do. Every single one of us is a scout, is here in this world on a mission. God sends us here to this world to do a specific thing with a specific mission in mind. He doesn't ask us if we can do it. He sends us here to see how we can do it. God gives us a task because we have a task that we can do. The very fact that God gave it to us means we can do it. The only question is how we're going to do it. Because God doesn't put us in a trick moment. God is not here to try to trick us and connive us and move us into something that we can't do. If we are put in a position, if we are placed in an experience, if we are put in a place, it means that God is expecting us to do something. It's not a matter of if we can do it. We can do it. The only question is how we're going to do it. Are we going to put up a fight? Or are we going to just do it and follow instructions and realize God's blessing is there? Because if God wants us to do it, if God gifted us with the experience to do it, it means he's giving us the power, the impetus, and the ability to pull it through. So my friends, don't get in the way. God's giving you an experience. God gave you a mission. Do it. Open your hands, receive the blessings, and go ahead and do the mission. It's only a question how you're going to do it. Are you going to get in the way, or are you going to be a vessel to accept it and do it with that great experience? It is up to us to make that decision and to finally say, yes, we are going to do that mission and allow God to make us the blessing and the conduit for that mission. By following through, doing the mission, we then don't do like the scouts did, make judgment about what God tells us we can do, but we actually follow through in the mission, come to the promised land meaning a place of where God wants us to fulfill the mission. And then we see God's blessings. We see the land that flows of milk and honey. We come to appreciate God's blessings in everything we do and all that we do. May we all see with our own eyes God's blessings in everything we do. God bless you. Have a great day. Looking forward to speaking with you again tomorrow. Lunch break with the Rabbi at 1 p.m. Have a wonderful day.